When it comes to buying a pre-owned vehicle, South African motorists have relied on AutoTrader for decades. Initially available as a printed weekly publication, the new millennium saw the platform embrace the digital age, and today the website boasts well over 70,000 listings. Joining me in the studio to tell us more about what that online transition and other trends shaping the used car space in South Africa is AutoTrader CEO George Mienie. George, thanks very much for joining us.
It's really nice being here. I love being in your studio.
George, let's look at the industry as a whole. Some of the statistics in January show some interesting trends. What does the raw data indicate and suggest in some of the patterns in sales at the moment?
So what's really, really interesting is that bakkies are an incredibly popular thing in South Africa, particularly the Toyota Hilux and the Ford Ranger. Those two bakkies, the double cab version of them, have performed very, very well over the last couple of years, but for the first time are number one and number two, and have knocked BMW off their perch effectively. Because of the economic environment, I think bakkies, and particularly double cabs, and particularly South Africans, like the versatility, affordability, and the ability to use the bakkie for various things in their life, be it lifestyle or commuting, and it fits a family of four. So bakkies is an interesting one. The Starlet is another new entrant, which it just shows the affordability factor again, and we also see that diesel vehicles perform really, really well on AutoTrader, and you'll see that in the industry report that's been released. Used car prices year on year weren't holding up the way they were until towards August, September last year. We were seeing 6, 7, 8, and even sometimes 9% price increases year on year up until the end of last year. And that bubble started to deflate. We saw just under 2% growth in prices from a used car point of view on the platform, to about 409,000 Rand being the average price of a vehicle that is sold and removed from AutoTrader. And so it shows that there's a slight swing towards new cars again. Because we've seen really buoyant new car sales over the last couple of months as well. And at the moment there seems to be this swing by the consumer towards new cars. We think it's because of a couple of reasons. One is cheaper, more affordable cars are entering the market. We've got the likes of Suzuki Swift, the Cherries, and then all the Chinese vehicles. And that is an entire topic on its own.
So one of the things that AutoTrader is quite well known for is innovation. And one of the things or the new functions that you've introduced, things like ratings and review functions, how does that benefit the customer? And tell us a bit more about that.
So our strategy as a business is walking this fine line between the car seller and the car buyer. And on the consuming public side, which is the browsers, the users, and the people that use AutoTrader, previously, as you mentioned, as a magazine, and now as an online marketplace, and they want to know more and more and more about certain things in their car buying journey that previously they would have to get in the physical world. And those three things are: they want to know as much about the car as possible, the listing itself, about its price, the features, the benefits. They want to almost consume the vehicle without leaving their home or leaving wherever they are, mostly on a mobile phone. The second they want to know a lot about is about the business or the person that they're buying from. And we call that dealership transparency. The other one is listings transparency. And then the third element is pricing transparency. They want to know as much about what they're paying for that vehicle as possible. So when a consumer buys a car, it is not only about price. Price is a major factor, but it's not all about price. So dealer reputation management, or ratings and reviews as we've called it, puts a spotlight on the selling party, the dealership, and tries to expose that dealership's efficiency, inefficiency, good reputation or bad reputation.
So a recent study in Germany showed that the age of a used car was for about 10 years for the first time in 2023, and in other markets like India, for instance, it's down from 6 to 4. What does it tell us a little bit about global trends and how it impacts locally?
So it seems like in Europe, the car park is getting older and older. It could be a sign of cars becoming more resilient, lasting longer than they used to 20, 30, 40 years ago. I mean, I'm old enough now to remember the era of carburetors and points and condensers, and so those things have now gone, and cars are a lot more reliable. It could speak to that. But if we looked at South Africa, the average age of a vehicle listed on AutoTrader was historically 5 years old. It's now moved to 6 years old. So I think we're following a similar trend. It could also be another sign, and that is economic pressure. So I think on the one side, cars are becoming more reliable, more resilient, and on the other side, there's global economic pressure, and it's no different in South Africa. And it seems like emerging markets have younger vehicles on the road.
I think, finally, let's perhaps quickly talk about where do you see some of the potential for growth in the used car market? There are lots of logistical problems and supply chains and stuff like that in the South African environment and geopolitics. But finally, it comes down to the South African used car or perhaps just the vehicle market. What are the most important trends you see?
I think one of the major problems to solve is government realizing that the automotive industry is a lot bigger contributor to the South African GDP than I think they give it credit for. And so at the moment, I think, given all of the ancillary products, services in the market, it could be as close to 20% of GDP. I mean, I think tires contributes just 6% of our GDP. New cars, 5 point something or 6% of GDP. So already there you got double digits. So real growth in the car economics of South Africa resides in international trade relations, import duties, and all of those things that can only be brought about by government. If we take one step deeper into the automotive economy, I think finding ways to make vehicles cheaper for consumers, because otherwise we are going to have an economy just with Chinese vehicles if we don't make the other vehicle brands cheaper for South Africans to drive.
Well, that's certainly food for thought. We're going to have to leave it there. George Mienie, CEO of AutoTrader, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
It looks like there's good reason to be optimistic about the pre-owned market, and we look forward to seeing how things develop in the coming months.